Welcome to Break Into Tech Show with Professor Temi Akinwumi of My IT University, a multi-award-winning tech CEO, career coach, and mentor. With decades of hands-on tech career, will ensure your career dreams come true. Join our extraordinary show today on groundbreaking topic for a successful career. Do you want a $100,000 job as a cybersecurity professional, Scrum Master, Business Analyst Software QA, Cloud Architect, Data Analyst, Technical Recruiter, and more? Visit www.myituniversity.com to schedule a call. Come and get inspired to secure a lucrative job, keep the job, and grow on the job. Relax, receive, and see results. We're glad you're here. Share, like, and comment.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing great today. Thank you for joining us. Today is going to be a wonderful, wonderful day. I just want to welcome everybody. My name is Professor Temi Akinwumi, and I'll be, having a fun time with you today, discussing on a wonderful, wonderful topic that we're bringing to you, which is discussing about breaking into cybersecurity, and especially GRC, PCI DSS framework. And you all know me by now. I've been in tech for many, many years, for 3 decades, and mentored thousands of engineers into tech. I always love to come back here and give back to you and impart you and make sure you can break into tech. Really good tech job, keep the job, and grow on the job. And that's the plan. Today, we're bringing one of my seasoned mentee that have become a mentor, and she's a guru in the area of PCI DSS. We are discussing about PCI DSS today, and guess what? She even actually have a presentation for you guys. That's how much we love you, and that's how much we want you to break into GRC, especially this PCI DSS and many others that we train you. Like I said before, we train you so many area of GRC. Our GRC program covers a lot. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, but you just know that if you are here with us, we're going to mentor you, coach you, nurture you to breaking into RMF, into ISO, PCI DSS, iTrust, GDPR, COVID, and so many other third-party vendor risk, EPA, and all that. And you'll be wondering, how can that be possible? Because once you are here, we are family. You are not living. You will still continue to mentor you, coach you, prep you for interview, and all of that. So you are here. So we pick different frameworks every Saturday and just discuss it once you are here. And so you get to understand a lot of frameworks, and it's free for you once you register for our program. So we'll be glad to have you. So thank you so much. And if you are trying to break into tech, you know what to do. Schedule a call with me, and it's free, and I will help you break into tech. Thank you so very much, everybody, for being here today. And I want to introduce my lovely, lovely mentee that has become a mentor, and she's going to introduce herself. Most of you have met her before because she has been on this show many times. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Dorcas Akintade. Like Prof said, I'm one of our mentees that has become a mentor, and today we are going to be talking about the PCI DSS security standard. It's called the Global Data Security Standard. That's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, and without wasting time, and I think we should just go straight to it, because for people that are not really sure what we are discussing and what is PCI DSS, can you explain why PCI DSS is a preferred framework, why people should break into it? Is it lucrative? What it is? Can you share with us?
One of the challenges that came up during the pandemic was the fact that a lot of people could not go out. So we had to do a lot of things online, payments online, shopping online, so many things online. Before then, we were actually doing a lot of shopping, we were doing a lot of things, but it was not easy to do these things. So cyber attacks were really so great and they were coming in so badly. But with the pandemic came an increase, especially in shopping and things like Netflix, things like every other thing just became online. There was so much venture into the cyberspace during the pandemic. And one of the things with the PCI DSS is it is a data security standard that involves companies that are actually accepting what is called payment cards. If you're collecting anything that comes in the form of a card, irrespective of what kind of card it is, credit cards, debit cards, loyalty cards, any kind of card, as long as it has what is called a PAN, a personal account number, you are going to be PCI DSS compliant. That's one of the reasons why PCI DSS is one of the trending, in fact, I would call it one of, is the most trending frameworks right now, most trending data security standard globally right now.
Because like almost any organization, corporation, it doesn't even matter. Institution, they are all using credit card. They are all accepting credit cards, so they have to be in compliance. So that's why it's very, very important to have, one of these, engineers, analysts in their domain so they can help them be in compliance. So thank you so much for that. So we're gonna start with the slide now, so you can roll.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Like I said, I actually put this here saying security standards staying ahead of the threats with robust security.
Okay.
Now, when we're talking about data security standards, it's not just about PCI DSS, like Prof was saying, there is IPA, there is GDPR, there are other frameworks. All of them are what is referred to as security standards. What are they? They're actually a set of guidelines, best practices, and technical specifications that you are supposed to implement in your organization. Now, what are these data standards supposed to be doing? One of the things they do is they help you meet what is called regulatory requirements. The truth is that a lot of organizations have to be compliant or what is called regulatory requirements. They have to meet up with some industry standards. And that's one of the things that data security standards are doing for you. It helps them to improve on their businesses. It helps them to meet up with their business objectives. And it also, at the same time, helps them to strengthen their security. That's what data security standards are doing. At the same time, we also need to understand, why do we need this security standards? They are not necessarily compared to other frameworks, like when we look at things like NIST, when we are looking at things like 853 and other frameworks like that. The way the security standard is different is not necessarily because it's formed by the government. It's because it's formed by an agency or it's formed by an organization. It can even be a governmental organization. But the whole essence is to help you to secure not only your operations, but in order to secure data. That is what is called data privacy. It helps you to move into a place where your data is much more secured. Now, when we are talking about some well-known data standards, the ones that are extremely well-known, like Prof was saying, we have PCI DSS, we have ISO, that's 27001, then we have NIST as well as CIS controls. Those are the ones that are extremely, I don't want to use the word important, because the truth is that all frameworks, all data security standards are important. But these ones are extremely well-known because everyone has to use them all over the world. Like I said, they are what is referred to as global standards. So now we are going into the world of PCI DSS. When we're talking about PCI DSS, I always say that compliance is not just about meeting your regulation. It also helps you to gain the trust of your customers. If there's a data breach with your organization, it's not just a requirement anymore. It has become a responsibility, because you are losing the trust of your clients, and losing the trust of your clients means losing money. The essence of opening a business is to make money. So if you lose your clients, nothing. So what were we saying? Like I said before, I said it's a set of security standards that helps us to ensure that companies that are accepting, processing, storing, or transmitting payment card information, they maintain it in a secure environment. It's not just about accepting the cards anymore. It's the ability to accept it, process it, store it, transmit it in a secure way. Now, how the PCI DSS starts? 5 organizations actually started PCI DSS. These are the 5 organizations, and they came up to become what we know as the Security Standards Council. Now, these 5 organizations, they came up with their own what is called their information security policies as far back as 2004. Visa Card, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and there's a company called Japan Credit Bureau. All of them came together. They now brought their own security standards from their organizations and brought it together to become one document. That was what became the PCI DSS 1.0 at that time in December 2004. But by 2006, they decided to change some of those things depending on the evolving landscape at that time, depending on the things that they saw, that they observed, the changes that were on the kind of threats that were coming in play at that time. That was one of the reasons why they decided to do an upgrade that became PCI DSS 1.1. And that was in September 2006. That was when they also came together and decided to form an organization called PCI-SSC. That is PCI Standard Security. I forgot the name. Standard, I think it's a Standard Security Compliance or something. No. I don't know. I've forgotten the name, but I'll come back to it. No. So how does this thing work? The way it's supposed to work is that you're supposed to be processing, storing, transmitting payment data, but at the same time, it's come at multiple levels. We'll actually explain that later. It's not just about accepting the data or just making sure you are compliant. It's the way it's going to work. How is this supposed to work? Who are the organizations that are going to be leveraging this framework? They are banks, merchants, card processors, card developers, anyone that is accepting a credit card. Even if you are what is called an e-commerce store and you are accepting credit cards, even if you are selling, in my language, they call it wosi-wosi. If you are selling small things and you are collecting credit card, you have to be PCI DSS compliant. You really don't have a choice. Now, we are looking at it from a technical angle. How does PCI DSS compliance impact you as a member of the information security team? If you are calling yourself that, oh, I want to be a member of the information security team, I'm a member of this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I want to be a I want to get a job as a PCI DSS security person, what are you going to be doing? One of the things you need to be doing is what is called enforcing the procedures and controls based on your level. Everyone has a level. Every organization has an impact level. And some of the things you may end up doing will be to be completing the self-assessment questionnaires, to be helping in doing the quarterly network scanning, to be helping with the independent security audits, as well as working with the party auditors, the third-party auditors. Now, we are going to look at a few of what is called the PCI requirements. One of the things that makes PCI is the fact that there are some standards. And
before we go on, 1 second, before we go, can we go back to the previous slide?
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. Can we break down a little bit on what you may have to do? Because some people always ask, what your day-to-day? What am I going to be doing for PCI DSS? Can we expatiate more on this?
Okay. Sincerely, I will advise that you come to IT University to come and learn a lot of these things. That's your best bet. Because if you're looking at some of those things, like I said, they're from a technical angle. And looking at them, just like I want to be an information security person, and then I want to be my company to be PCI DSS compliant. It's much more than that. What are the things that you're supposed to be doing? I don't want you to just look at it from the surface level. I need you to look at it from the in-depth. Because even if you're going to be completing a self-assessment questionnaire, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to do it? What is the process? What is the procedure? Now, if you're going to be helping with doing the quarterly scans, how are you supposed to do it? If you cannot do something, you cannot even help someone who is going to do it. So you got to learn it. That if you're going to be learning about the independent audits, yes, you're not the one doing it, but they will be asking questions. There are some references, there are some referrals. How do you understand how to do that? The only way is to learn how to do it. And like I said, I will advise you can just call this number right now, schedule a discovery call. That's your best bet so that you learn 100% how to go into it and learn how to do it. So I'll move to the next slide, ma'am. Okay, like I said, there's something called PCI requirements. These PCI requirements are sort of what we call security controls. But the PCI DSS is requesting of us to come and do some requirements. If you do not fulfill those requirements in your organization, you are unable to become compliant. So now, what are some of these requirements? For the requirements, I will advise, like I said, come to my IT university. That's your best bet. I'm not going to teach you everything under the requirements. I'm just going to teach you about the compliance check so that you have an understanding of how it is supposed to go. For you to understand how the requirements are, call the number, the discovery call. Now, there's an update for the PCI DSS now. An update came in 2022. As at before then, we were using what was called PCI DSS 3.21. But as of last year, that's March 2022, and that actually came up because of the pandemic. There was so much of evolving threats. There was much more, for people that know, there was so much of hacking during the pandemic because a lot of people were just, let me just use the word, they were bored. So they wanted to find something to do. There was so much of hacking. People needed money. There was so much of ransomware. So threat actors were increasing. And so they decided to change from 3.21 to 4.0. Now, the thing with the 4.0 that makes it different from the 3.21 is that it addresses what is called the evolving threat landscape, the new technologies that are coming in play right now. AI is one of the biggest technologies that are in play right now. And it is one of the serious ways that hacking is coming into play. And there are also new payment methods. So these are some of the things that PCI DSS 4.0 is going to be addressing. But the thing with the PCI DSS 4.0 is that even though it came up last year, 2022, it is not going to come into full vigor until 2025. Now, like I said, I want us to look at some of the requirements. These requirements are what are called technical requirements or what is called operational requirements. They have been set by the company called PCI-SSC to come and protect the cardholder data. That is the organization that is responsible. Those 5 companies that I told you about, that I showed you initially, they are the ones that came up together to come and form this organization in order to be protecting your cardholder data. Now, the first requirement, like I said, I will just give you what is called the surface level. If you need more, place a discovery call, you get more. So the first requirement is that you have to install and maintain a firewall. Now, if you are asking you to install and maintain a firewall, it's like I said, it's much more than that. It's not just installing and maintaining the firewall. This firewall is not just about your firewall. It talks about the routers. It talks about the things like your switches and your network and every other thing. You have to keep it up and running. And it's not just about keeping it up and running. You have to review every time to make sure that your rules are working consistently. So what this is saying is that if you look at the compliance checklist, before you do your assessment, you have to do what is called the compliance checklist, considering the fact that you are a security professional that wants to go into a PCI assessment. So before the person that is going to audit your organization comes in, there are some things you have to do. So like I said, the compliance checklist, you have to create a plan for firewall implementation and policies. You have to monitor and test your firewall periodically to test for potential vulnerabilities, and you have to update your firewall with the latest patches. The truth is that one of the things I always tell everyone is when a new operating system comes in, you have to update, because most of the time is actually to help your security. But a lot of people don't understand that, and then they take it for granted. If you do not update the latest patch with your firewall, it's just like having a dummy. It is not going to do what it's supposed to do. Now, the second requirement, we are supposed to eliminate vendor default settings. What this is saying is that when your equipment is coming, they are actually having what is called default settings. Now, these default settings, they come in at settings that are coming from the vendor. But you, as a security person, you should understand that there are people in the vendor's office that have that password. They have those settings. They have everything. So it's up to you to come in and change those default settings to your organization settings. You have to create new ones. That way, it makes it more secure. You have to put in a password that is different from what they had initially. You also have to adjust these settings in order to eliminate or be able to address some threats or some vulnerabilities that may try to come in. At the same time, you have to maintain an inventory. Maintaining an inventory is extremely important, because if there is a breach, you don't want to start searching. Where did the firewall, which firewall was breached? Which IP address is this? No, you don't want to start going all around to have that. You want to have an inventory of all those things so that immediately that happens, you already know where you are going to. So even under your PCI-SSC documentation, when anything comes in and they ask for an IP address, you're not going all around to start searching for information. Then number 3, we have to protect the stored cardholder data. Now, this is actually one of the most important requirements, because the essence of PCI DSS is to be able to protect cardholder data. So one of the things that you have to do is what is called creating a PCI compliant policy. This will help you to know how you will collect the data, how you will handle the data, how you will dispose of it. The fact that you're not the one transmitting the data does not mean you are not going to be compliant, so you're not going to have a policy. You have to have a policy in place so that it helps you to understand how the PCI data is going to be flowing, how you are going to dispose of it after you have finished using it or after you have collected it. How is it going to be handled? Who has access to handle cardholder information? Those are the things that you have to put in your policy. At the same time, you also have to put what is called security measures for encryption and what is called masking. Now, when we are talking about a personal account number, for those that have a card, your card has something that has like a number, a 16-digit number. That 16-digit number is what is called a personal account number. So most times for some organizations, you will only see the first 6, or for some, you only see the last 4. The fact that you can't see the remaining is what is called masking. That hides the information so that nobody, even if they decide to steal that information, they don't have access to it because they don't have the complete information. It's your responsibility as someone that is handling data to ensure that happens. And those are some of the things you want to check on your compliance checklist to make sure you are doing. At the same time, you want to document your process for creating, storing, and managing the cryptographic keys. If you are going to be encrypting something, what are the keys that you are using? You need to know how you are going to be creating these keys. You need to know how you're going to be storing it, and you need to know how you're going to be managing those keys. Like I said, if there's a breach, or even when you are going to go through your assessment or what is called an audit, you don't want to be running around when they're asking for information. So you want that information to be documented.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. And with all this thing, we are discussing about the requirement for the PCI DSS. These are part of what we had in the trial box, which is going to prep you for interviews. At the same time, I want people to know that you need Security Plus to break into GRC. Most people come into just straight to GRC and want to break into them. This is exactly what I'm telling them, that there's no way you can break into GRC and be successful if you don't understand the concept of cybersecurity. Exactly. Like now we're talking about cryptography, we are talking about masking, encryption, we are talking about firewall. If you don't have any knowledge of Security Plus, come TIA Security Plus, you can't understand all of this. It's gonna make it difficult. So that's why you all can see very well why it's very important to have Security Plus as your foundation. Thank you. Let's continue. Thank you so much.
Okay, the fourth one is what is called encrypting payment data transmission. We keep talking about encryption. When data is encrypted, even if it is stolen, if the person does not have a key, it's very difficult for them to be able to have access to the data. So that's one of the reasons why we are saying you should make sure that you're using strong encryption protocols. That's in your private and public network. When you're talking about private network and public network, there's some people that will be like, oh, it's only traveling through the intranet. It's not going to the internet. No, irrespective, you have to put in strong encryption protocols when it is traveling. When that's in traveling, we call it when it is in motion, because a lot of times people assume that data has to be at rest for it to be stolen. Data can be captured even when it is in transmission. Another thing we always advise is under this compliance checklist, make sure that PANs, when I'm talking about PANs, I'm talking about the personal account number. That's the 16-digit number on the credit card. Don't send that information out with end user messaging text, like your email, text message, your chatting teams, anything. Don't, as a rule, do not send that information out. Those are some of the things you want to make sure is on your compliance checklist. Another thing is that people will always do something wrong when they don't know. A lot of times, ignorance is not an excuse in security. That's the first thing. One of the most vulnerable points in any security organization is the humans, the people. So you have to put up consistent training for your employees, the do's and don'ts. Do this, don't do this, you can do that, or you cannot do that. If they don't know, they will do it wrongly, and then they will cause a problem for everybody in the organization. But if you explain to them, like I said, put it on your compliance checklist to make sure they know. Don't come back and say, oh, we missed that. No. Another thing is you have to update your antivirus software regularly. Make sure your antivirus software is updated. Like I said, you have to be updating your software. You have to be updating your OS, because when new updates come up, these things help to eliminate threats. So if you're going to deploy an antivirus software on all the hardware systems, on all the software systems, especially when it comes to personal computers and servers, like I said, humans are one of the biggest threats to any security point. So even when you're going to deploy it, make sure everybody that is in your organization, their antivirus and software is up to date. Then make sure that all the antivirus softwares, they are performing what is called continuous monitoring, and they are automatically generating logs. I will not want to start explaining on that, because like I said, some of these things are technical. There are things you have to understand. So register so that you can have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. You also have to configure your antivirus software so that end users, they cannot just adjust the settings without approval. One of the things with humans is that we like to fiddle. So humans, like I keep emphasizing it, they are the weakest security threat. So you have to configure your antivirus in such a way that nobody, especially your end users, they cannot come in and adjust the setting without getting approval from their managers or from the information security department. Put that on your checklist. Then number 6, you have to deploy secure systems and applications. What this is saying is that don't just allow your members of staff to just sleep and wake up and have the ability to download software on their computers. Is a threat. So only secure software solutions need to be installed. What this means is that for you to be PCI compliant, you have to enlist a PCI compliant partner. You will help them, they are going to help you vet what is called the new hardware, the new software, to ensure it is secure before it is put on your company network. You're not just going to sleep and wake up and say, oh, I'm putting this on my network. No. That's not the way it's going to work. A PCI compliance partner has to come in and vet it first. Then you have to install any vendor specified updates or security patches within 1 month. Once it is released, within 1 month of that release, you have to update. You have to, should I use the word, install it. If you do not install it, there's going to be a problem, because it's going to make you fail the PCI assessment. Then if you have internal software within your own organization that you're trying to build, that means if there are companies that are actually building their own software, remember that you have to put PCI compliance measures in mind. It's not just about buying it. You have to make sure that everything is PCI compliant. Now, number 7, restrict access to cardholder data. This is one place where a lot of companies are making mistakes, and as an information security person, you need to restrict that. Some people will just go to any what is called the DMZ zone and just have access to data, then they go and steal it. The fact that they're your staff or they've signed a contract does not necessarily mean they can be trusted. If they don't need that information, please ensure that they don't have access to it. Limit access to only people that require it for business purpose. The fact that he is CEO, if his job does not require it for his business purpose, he does not have a right to get it. You have to implement what is called key cards, passcodes, biometrics in order to strengthen your physical access controls. That means anywhere that cardholder data is stored, for the physical access controls, you have to put what is more than passcodes anyway. Most times we don't just go with passcode, we go with what is called passphrases, because those are supposed to be more secure. Then you are going to be implementing key cards. I think some people call them smart cards. Smart cards are supposed to be more reliable, but let's be sincere with ourselves, it can get missing and it can be stolen. So, but if you use what is called biometrics, you have to kill the person or remove the person's eye in order to enter. So if you don't remove a part of that person, you don't have access. That's one of the reasons why we believe that biometrics is supposed to be one of the strongest points of security systems. Now, like I keep emphasizing, you need to train your employees so that they can avoid accidental internal breaches. You just have to keep training. Continuous training is extremely important.
And
Now,
sorry, thank you. I want to mention two things from here. You mentioned two-factor authentication.
Yes, ma'am.
We're also talking about defense in depth, whereby you have layers and layers of protection on your infrastructure to protect it from intruder and from data breach. Very good. Thank you.
Yes,
Let's
ma'am.
continue.
Okay, ma, at the same time, we're talking about assigning user access identification. When we're talking about assigning a user access identification, that means we are going to assign what is called a unique ID and a unique password for everybody that has access to any system that holds card holder data. Is extremely important for you to make sure that you assign them what is called a user access identification. There's something called non-repudiation. It's a law of, it is not me that did it. It's not coming to play. Once you come in, they know that you are the one that went into that system, except somebody decided to steal your credentials, which as a security person, you should make sure should not happen. So what I'm saying in essence is you have to document the processes, you have to document the measures for creating, assigning, and revoking user IDs. Make sure that at every point in time, user IDs are documented. You have to know the process. You have to know how it is created. You have to know how it is assigned. And if the person no longer has access, it has to be revoked. It has to be removed. Another thing you have to do is incorporate what is called 2FA for anyone logging into the system. What this means is that you are not just putting in one form of authentication, you are putting in two. Most of the time, what they usually use is tokens and a passcode, or what is called the passphrase. So you're going to put in two forms of authentication: what you know, what you have, and what you are. So, like I said, biometrics is one of the strongest of the three. That's one of the reasons why we always go most times with biometrics. Then the third one, you have to eliminate an existing group user ID or password. If there's any user ID or password that is already in existence, it has to go. Even when it is forbidden by PCI DSS, the PCI DSS law says that you cannot even have that. But the truth is that as a security person, anything that is already in existence, if you are getting something from your vendor, or you take over as a security person that you were not in that organization before and then you came in, you have to find out what every group user ID is doing. If you don't know what it is for, please eliminate it. But you have to get authorization to be able to do that. If you do not understand what it is for, eliminate it. Because if not, you will not pass the PCI DSS assessment. Now, this one, number 9, we are going to restrict access to physical access data. Wherever card holder data is stored, we always believe that you have to monitor the place, especially with things like cameras, CCTVs, dogs, guards. You have to use what is called badges, name tags before you can enter into that place. There have to be secure zones. Then flash drives and other physical devices, they have to be destroyed. Firstly, before you are allowed to use any form of what is called the physical media storage, it has to be FIPS 140 compliant. If it is not compliant, don't bother to use it. In fact, if you have your way, don't use physical media storage at all. Eliminate it. But one of the things that people are doing now in order to eliminate that threat is that they don't allow users to bring in their own devices. Instead, like I said, they are bringing in FIPS 140 that has to be given to a manager. When you're going to need it, then you will request it and sign for it. So they know you are the one that used it, or you are the one that took it. Information that is stored on it, they know that's the person that took it. So as much as possible, try to destroy any form of physical media storage once they are no longer necessary. It's not a matter of I threw it away. That's not the way it is. You have to store it. You have to not to store, destroy it securely. It has to be destroyed in a secure manner. Now, number 10, this is the 10th requirement. You have to track and monitor network access. Like I said, non-repudiation. You have to know who is linking to what. You have to know who is looking at what. You have to have a record for all physical network devices, so that you are going to be able to link them to specific users. If you see anything that doesn't even make any form of sense to you, or anything that looks like, sometimes I always tell people something, that the fact that there's a difference between a trigger and an alert. That is triggering does not make it an alert, or it does not even make it a threat. So the truth of the matter is that if someone is saying, oh, I did this, some people do things by mistake, especially when it comes to tax period. You see people downloading information with W2s that has social security numbers or what is called PII. So when those kind of information is coming out, you want to see what they are doing. You want to put a track so that you know what is doing what, and then you can question. You're not going to assume this is what they are doing. No, you got to know. Then you have to also automate the generation of audit trails. Like I said, you have to know what they are doing. You have to put up what is called an audit trail to know what anyone is doing on your network. Then you have to regularly review your security logs to detect any anomalies or suspicious activities. Like I said during the first requirements, when you put some things in place like your firewall or file integrity monitoring system, those are the kind of things you have to look at in your security log. But if you don't review them regularly, you will just find out that a threat will pass through and you will not even know until it's time for security assessment. Then you start running around. Or it's time for PCI assessments, then you start running around. But if you put up a compliance checklist, you are able to check those things on a regular basis. Even when there is no trigger, even when there is no alert, once you see something, you will automatically know because you are consistently reviewing. Now, number 11, we have what is called ongoing systems and process testing. Wow. This one is also extremely important. For you to be able to pass the PCI DSS assessment, you have to go through what is called network scanning on a quarterly basis. Before you can do your network scanning on the quarterly basis, you have to go with what is called an approved security vendor. So this approved security vendor creates a plan with them so that they can come and be doing your quarterly scanning. You have to create a plan so that you will know when they are coming to come and test for vulnerabilities. You also have to ensure that the pen testing method, the testing methodologies that they are working with is not only working on the network level. It's not only working within your office, it's also working at the application level. That means if you have applications in place, those methods must be working on them so that if anything comes in that has a vulnerability, it's going to be able to grab it and catch it. Another thing you have to do is deploy a change detection mechanism to perform weekly critical file comparisons. That means if somebody changed something or did an update, you want a system by which is going to tell you that this thing changed. The reason why we always do that, like I said, is because even if you don't have a file integrity monitoring system in place, if anything changes that has file comparisons, that has something to change, that is, I'll give an example so that you have an understanding of what I'm saying. If you have like an OS and somebody or something, a threat or a vulnerability goes in and decides to change something in the registry, if you are looking at it consistently, if there's a change that you notice immediately, you will know, oh, this is not right. Or if somebody goes in and goes to change something, puts like a what is called a rootkit at the back door, or they go and put something at the back end that should not be there, automatically you will know because you are looking at it, because you have deployed what is called a change detection mechanism. Automatically it will tell you a change has come in place. Now, this is the last requirement, number 12. This one is one of the most important. You have to create and maintain an information security policy. This is one mistake that so many people make. They don't have an information security policy in place. And that's one of the things that the PCI DSS assessment is requesting or asking for. You have to know the people that are stakeholders or the key stakeholders across all the business units. Who is supposed to be doing what? Who is supposed to be approving what? Who is supposed to have access to what? These things are supposed to be in your information security policies so that it will not be like, I know is like what happened was, that story will not come up. And then you have to create and document your infosec policy with a PCI compliance partner. Like I said, you always have to work with a PCI compliance partner when you are doing some things. That is the only way you can stay compliant. When you are creating your infosec policy, you have to have a PCI compliance partner working with you. You have to be working with them to say, oh, this is what our infosec policy looks like. Then they will look at it and be like, oh, is this passing the PCI DSS compliance status? Another thing that I keep emphasizing on, staff training to ensure continuous policy implementation. The fact that you have a policy or an information security policy in place, you have to continuously review it so that new trends, new technologies, new threats, if the landscape is changing, those things are going to be continuously reviewed and added to the policy. But apart from that, you also want to remind your staff members that they have a policy in place. You have to continuously remind them that you have a policy in place. So these are the 12 requirements. Okay. Now, understanding the power of PCI DSS, I really will not go into this. Like I said, it's advisable if you want to learn how PCI DSS seriously works. Sincerely, I'm going to encourage you. It's advisable. Come to my IT University. Just go to myituniversity.com right now and place a call for a discovery call. Just register right now for a discovery call. You are going to understand everything we just talked about is the word of PCI DSS. But the truth is, you don't even understand how the compliance is supposed to happen. Well, I've just told you the requirements. You need to understand what you're supposed to do to ensure the compliance takes place. How are you supposed to, the process, the procedure, who is going to do it, who is going to do what? Those are the things you need to understand as a technical person. So I encourage you, register now with my IT University. Just place your discovery call right now. Don't bother to think about it. Just place your call right now. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. That's so powerful and it's a lot of information. And yes, like you said, if people want to break into this role, they will really enjoy it. They will really do well in it, like you are enjoying it and doing well in it. And a lot of our engineers already broke into PCI DSS compliance. So I strongly encourage, if you are interested, reach out to us. We have programs that will help you break into PCI DSS compliance. You can make a lot of money and you can do very well in it. So that's what we have for you on this. So don't procrastinate. Schedule a call, okay? Follow us on all social media platforms, okay? And, you can also send me an email if you have any question. But more importantly, if you are interested, schedule a call. It's free to schedule a call with me and discuss about PCI DSS, and I will give you all the insight. And Dorcas is here. He's one of our mentors here. Mentee has become a mentor to help you, because here we'll coach you, we'll mentor you. You can be in our network, and we have the community support so that you can break into it and also grow on it. So if you have not followed on social media, there's a link to follow on social media. So I thank you so very much. And for people that still considering PCI DSS or Cybersecurity GRC, what's your final advice for them?
You see, one of the mistakes that so many of us think about is the fact that we don't understand that there are some technical points that you still have to understand when you're going into GRC. People think it's all about documentation, it's all about the risk. No, that's not the way it's supposed to work. Like Prof said initially, if you have a good understanding of security clause, it's going to help you, because so many things are going to be coming in place. And that is going to take you to another level at your job. So that let's be sincere with ourselves, a lot of technical people don't like to read. That's just the sincere truth. So if you are more technical, it's going to give you what is called an elevated point. So I encourage you, in fact, I don't think I want to talk too much. Just register now, place a call, because the sincere truth is that you never know what you want to do until you place a call. So if you place a discovery call, I'm sure you will find out, oh, is this something I want to go ahead with? Is this something I want to do? So just place a call right now. That's my advice for you right now.
Thank you so much. So what you have to do now is don't procrastinate, don't delay, join us, schedule a call with me, myituniversity.com, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much, Dorcas, for joining us, and thank everybody else for being here tonight and for today for joining us. I know you are joining us from everywhere, so it might be morning, night, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. So we appreciate your time and your presence. We're going to continue this discussion in house. We have so many things. We are already scheduled for our mentoring course with PCI DSS. We do all these other frameworks as well. Join us, register for our program, join the program so you can learn a lot. We teach you like 8 framework for price of 1. So it's a lot that we're giving them to you for free, including your resume, your LinkedIn profile. We do interview preps for you, everything. And we even help you like 3 times a week. We meet on Clubhouse, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Who does that? Nobody does that. It's only with my IT University. Thank you so much, Dorcas, and thank you, everybody. Wish you all a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you, and God bless you. Good night.
Good night. Oh, see you later.